significant economic impact.
Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdeed, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Pakhair agile, ni hao, chunashumbe, washmale, ohio gonzaimes, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Hala shama chatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, kaifa haluka, buna, mucho, gracias, and a very amazing good morning to everyone out there who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning alongside the very amazing, the very stunning, the very fabulous Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you today?
I am absolutely great. Thank you for those kind words early in the morning. How are you? How was your morning?
I think my morning was great, and
Winter mornings are always good.
I fortunately tried to actually have a cup of coffee before coming to work today, because
And?
other than that, you know, my usual cup of, it's not a cup of coffee, it's a cup of tea, but it doesn't really give me that adrenaline rush as well, or, you know,
Yeah, tea
to
is-
open my eyes up as well. But other than that, you know, having a coffee earlier in the morning, I think has actually given me a lot more energy. What about you? So you have at least 2 drinks of coffee.
I
You know,
had
why
one
drinks?
today.
Because, you know, she does not drink hot coffee, she drinks cold coffee.
Yes, so I had one today actually.
Okay.
But that works for me. So I'm lately having dates with coffee.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's working for me a lot. It's so energetic and I'm like all over the place.
I think that's great. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to rise and shine, wake and bake, get up and be more focused about what you want to achieve in life.
Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
whenever we talk about achievements, half of the time, ladies and gentlemen, we have seen in our lives that we need resources for that, and we lack those resources.
And Shazad, you remember just a few days back there was this orchestra on our show,
Yeah.
the King Orchestra, and they were so absolutely brilliant. The only issue that they had was that they had all the solutions of how to become so popular and how to bring a, make an amazing band, but they lacked resources about it. And I know a lot of people who have the amazing ideas, probably entrepreneurship ideas or energy solutions or whatnot, but they don't have the resources for it.
Exactly.
And especially belonging to that areas of Pakistan who are not very focused upon, unlike central Punjab or unlike, let's say, Sindh or whatnot, maybe AJK or Gilgit-Baltistan or small villages around Sindh. A lot of people there as well have issues. They have solutions to their issues as well, but lack resources.
And even other than that, Shiza, we half of the time actually forget to speak about the downtrodden segment of the
Yes.
society. For example, widows, people living with disabilities,
Orphans.
orphans, people who actually promote arts and culture, people who actually need renewable energy sources within those areas. You know, these are those areas where, you know, if we give them like smaller grants, and I think that the impact can be greater.
Absolutely.
And ladies and gentlemen, today we bring to you, I think, one of those greatest opportunities for people who actually live in all of those areas, whether may them be in the federals, in the cities, or in the rural areas as well, and may they be in any other province of Pakistan, because the news is amazing. So USAID actually came up with this newer program, which is the Ambassador Fund Grant Program, which is being handled by TDEA over here in Pakistan, and they are giving grants to these 5 different what do we call
Priority
them?
areas.
Yeah, priority areas, where we are actually going to talk about, you know, empowering vulnerable populations, then encouraging social entrepreneurship, developing small-scale energy, which is renewable energy once again, promoting cultures and arts, and improving disaster preparedness.
And all of you who are watching, if you, if you like what we're talking about, please spread the word so that it reaches out to the people who actually need
Exactly.
these
So
grants.
because we have got representatives of TDEA over here with us, and they're going to let us know what this Ambassador Fund Grant Program is all about, we're definitely going to do their introductions without any further ado. So ladies and gentlemen, on my right hand side, I've been joined by the Deputy Chief of Party, which means the head of the program. He's none other than Mr. Rashid Chaudhry. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Alaikum assalam, I'm good.
Thank you very much for joining us. It was wonderful to have you on the show. And moving on, ladies and gentlemen, alongside Mr. Rashid Chaudhry, we have been joined by somebody who's actually looking after the gender and priority area manager. She's none other than Miss Uzma Zari. Hello, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Yeah, walaikum assalam, Aslan. I'm fine.
Thank you very much for joining us. And the name is Shahzad, but it's perfectly all right. You know, this happened to her yesterday as well. Somebody
Happens to me
called her
all the time.
Shazia. And now I'm being called this one.
I
It's
spell my
Rashid.
name as Rashid.
Rashid,
Yes.
okay. So, you know, this happens. So no problem.
Totally all right.
So,
Early in
Rashid
the
Saab
morning.
is over here with us and Mrs. Mazari. But let's get the conversation started. Sponsor, Rashid Sahib, please let us know about this entire program which USAID came up with, and it is titled as Ambassador's Fund Grant Program. Why is it titled like that?
Uh, Ambassador's Fund is U.S. Ambassador's Fund, and U.S. ambassadors in many countries actually run this fund. These are 5-year cycles. Every 5 year, every ambassador in these countries set some priorities based upon the pressing needs of communities, and they externalize these funds to contractors.
Okay.
And upon these priorities, whatever the thematic area and priorities are set by the ambassadors, smaller grants are awarded to the communities for communities to prepare for the challenges
Right.
and seek solutions and come up with solutions, innovative solutions for scale up, for pilots, and for implementation of solutions to their problems in those thematic priorities. This funding cycle for Ambassadors Fund started in 2017, that Trust for Democratic Education and Accountability is implementing.
Okay.
And we are working in 5 thematic priorities that Ambassadors has set. And we have to award 200 grants in 5 years to Pakistani organizations.
That's a target set.
Yeah.
That's a
Okay.
target set.
To Pakistani organizations or to people representing the smaller communities or the downtrodden
Well,
segments
that's
of the
very
society?
important, and it's great that you asked. So,
Yeah, every group that has to apply should be registered in one way or the other. There's no restriction on the nature of the group. It can be for profit, it can be not for profit, it can be an NGO, it can be any group, but that has to be registered under some Pakistani law. Individuals and government entities are not eligible, but all other groups and companies and organizations are eligible.
That's brilliant. So what is the role of TDEA in all of this?
We manage grants. We manage grants, and we provide technical assistance to the grantees, and we provide capacity building support, and we help them to sustain their initiatives and to implement them efficiently, to maximize the gains, basically.
okay.
So that we get more than we have invested in that. So
Okay. Okay, brilliant. Now moving on to Ms. Uzma over here. How many grants so far have you given out in a 1-year span, right?
Yeah, we have given grants to 23 organizations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all these
From
20
different areas?
Yeah, for different areas. They are in all across 4 provinces of Pakistan, and IGK and GB is also covered in that. And again, these are all within these 5 priority areas. So we are related to the vulnerable populations. But the beauty of those grants is that these ideas were generated by the local communities.
Okay.
We just helped them, put them.
You enabled them.
Yeah. Just enable them and did a hand holding so that they can smoothly implement it. And so basically, the ownership lies with those vulnerable communities.
Okay.
And they will be the actually sole implementers for that. And again, in the implementation, we'll be providing hand-holding and mentorship so that the impact, the aspired impact of those grants is not lost. So just to put them into the direction that how these priority areas have some aspired goals to achieve, and they could be sustained in a manner that even the fund is not there, the communities are capable enough to take it forward.
Right. So, Ms. Uzma, for people who don't understand, including me, for a better understanding, let's say, so the moment you give out grants, are you done with them, or is it like a contract type thing that goes on for probably a few months or something? Are you in touch with them? Do you keep a check on what's going on with the grants that you give out?
Yeah. At the time, this is very much part of our designing.
Okay.
So when they are designing the project, the idea, so they simply design it in a way that they break them into some small milestones.
Right.
So based on those targets and milestones or smaller goals, we are then there to to engage with them, to get the report feedback from them, give them assistance in doing things in a right manner. And so by the time they get over to all these milestones, there is a complete team which actually give them a true diligent monitoring and evaluation, which is actually based on a learning approach.
Okay.
So it's not that kind of supervisory, policing of those small
Yeah, with
projects.
them.
Yeah.
It's
You're not
actually a
dictating this.
learning. Yeah, these are actually our visits are actually the learning visits. Go and learn, and it's not just the communities to learn. We are also learning
Wow.
a lot from them.
And we are also learning as well.
course.
Which is why I want to ask that, since you mentioned whether, these grants can be for profitable reasons or for non-profitable reasons. So that means that one way or the other, it's more like an incubation center for people who actually want resources, for example, economic resources, mentorship, or probably office space, so that they actually fulfill their basic needs and then they move forward to help others too as well if they feel like. Now the question over here is, first of all, what are the merits on which we are actually giving these grants to organizations who are out there? And then what kind of check and balances are kept by TDEA to ensure that the grants actually fall into the right hands? Thank you.
Yeah, the merits. Merit is just one, and that is the innovation. Whether the solution that has been sought in a consultation with community. The solution is very innovative. The solution had a potential to scale up. The solution has the potential to sustain on its
grow,
own after the project is ended. So the merit is this, that and it actually is benefiting more people, and it has some valuable utility for the community. So this is the merit. All other merits that are normally in grant projects, we do not care much about that, because we believe that the capacity of an institution can be built. If there are gaps, there are some organizational issues.
Differences or changes,
We can work with them, and we work with them if there are gaps in writing or providing reports of these things. We actually work with them. We build their capacity. But the only merit that we concentrate on is the innovation. And the second thing, the checks and balance, the usual checks and balance in a contract environment. We divide everything into milestones, as mentioned, and we work with them, and we remain engaged with them throughout the life of the project. And we actually engage with them on a daily basis, because we and the grantees, they all work on the same software, and they have to do everything online, from the application to their final evaluation.
Okay.
So we work with them. We keep updated ourselves, and we keep them updated about all other things. And we also help these implementers, the grantees or the communities, to share their experiences with their peers as well.
Okay.
Like if there are some grantees under vulnerable populations who are providing some support to vulnerable populations, so we brought them together, and they share their experiences, what worked well, what didn't work, and what can be done in a better way, what are the best practices.
And you
So-
monitor that.
And we actually facilitate them. We call them communities of practice.
Okay.
So all the practitioners, they are brought in here, and they share their experiences. So these kind of supports we provide to them, and apart from other usual checks and balances that are
Okay,
there.
and one more thing before we actually talk about these different 5 groups whom you're actually giving these grants out. Now, is it like a continuous grant program, or for once if you have given the grant to a certain organization, you just hold back, this is it, and you actually have to be sustainable after this, or you have to generate your own funds, or they can come back to you that, okay, we're stuck over here, we need a little bit of more financial help, can you help me, can't you help us over here?
I think when organizations work with us and they implement a project of 6 months or 1 year, they are then able to solicit support for their larger initiatives. But we do not support them in scaling up or in things. We actually help them learn techniques and do things efficiently so that they can on their own solicit support. And in many cases, the communities on their own sustain these initiatives. And we are more interested in these kind of solutions in which they don't have to actually look for more funding from outside sources. If they are they become able with this support to run that initiatives on their own. And that's the big sustainability factor
Amazing.
for us.
Okay.
Let me just very quickly move on to Uzma Saiba. Now, Uzma Saiba, it is very essential for any grant program to have a lot of research being done in all of those areas where we actually need to go down and find organizations who are definitely seeking for help. Now, first of all, in which areas, because you just mentioned that 22 or 23 grants
Yeah.
have been awarded since last year, and the program started in 2017. So, and you yourself is the priority area manager, and you're looking after the gender and priority both at the same time.
Yeah.
So what kind of research is being done in terms to reaching out to people, because a lot of people might not even know about this grant program, and they might be very needy at this point of time.
Yeah. Besides our website communication about the grant project, we use so many other ways. For example, we are using this outreach as a strategy to go actually in particular regions and invite the smaller organizations and academicians, research institutions, all relevant stakeholders, and orient them about what is actually placed on a website. Right? Because, considering the fact that these organizations actually belong to those areas who might not have that internet access or might not be that, vigilant about what fund is available and how can we seek resources. So, practically speaking, actually going them and engage them into a discussion. So as we also answer them in terms of, their questions too.
Yeah.
So because traditionally these kind of communications are, when these are through the websites only, people have a lot of questions and they can't really understand. So very localized means and channels. The other way we are using is that once we support once we support our grants and it goes to a grantee organization. So ultimately in that particular area, the others are really able to know who is doing what. So for them is also a kind of referral builds on. The beauty of our program is actually there is no deadline. Which is very unique feature compared to many other
that's
programs.
what I'm thinking.
So you like
there
take
is
your
no
time.
deadline. We receive applications on a rolling basis, on a daily basis. So as Rashid said that we take we take care of those applications readily. So every month we have a couple of organizations throwing the applications and we used to process them.
Okay.
So that's why that is another strategy to keep them mobilized, keep on sending. And for example, if on some technical ground or any reason the application could not go to a success stage,
Or a maturity stage.
so it's not just a simple rejection. They are actually encouraged to reapply.
Okay.
So when we do the outreach events, we actually invite all those grantee organizations who have potential, who can do, but with a little more attention, they can improve their ideas, they can
So it's like one of
resubmit.
those situations where you apply for a visa to go to another country and they reject it in the first place, and then you apply back again and they're like, okay, you can come
now
back
you
now.
can go.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
think that's great.
And now that's brilliant. Now I think it's time to touch upon the 5 top priority areas that you've mentioned on the website as well. So starting with empowering the vulnerable populations. And it's brilliant that, Ms. Uzma, before when we were speaking, you said that when you're talking about vulnerable populations, they're not only women and children, because that's, the basic that we always talk about. There's always orphans. Shazad mentioned, elderly people as well, and widows, whatnot. So tell us about that. How many, is there a lot of people who have applied from this specific area?
And then how do these people reach out to the organization whom you're actually giving the grant?
Yeah.
Because, these people need to be affiliated with those organizations. Only then the purpose of your grant will be fulfilled.
Yeah, so wait, before you speak, I know I just need to add a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
So to my understanding, what this means is because you're not giving out grants to individuals, so this has to be probably a setup like for orphans, probably something like the Eidi Foundation, of course, non-profit, or probably something like that works for people with acid burns, or something like that, old homes and whatnot. Is it true?
Yeah.
Okay.
In majority of the cases, these vulnerable populations are organized in some form of groups, and these groups actually apply. They are registered, and in some other cases, these groups have some commitments towards working for the vulnerable populations they apply for. Like we are supporting an initiative for transgenders in Multan.
Brilliant.
So these groups are organized in one way or the other, and some organizations are actually applying on their behalf. But they are working with their with the communities, and they actually create some community groups, or they work with the existing groups that are not registered.
Okay.
So this is all about working with them directly.
Right.
It's not an indirect work, but the organizations can be within from within these communities, or they can work on behalf of these communities. So we are receiving a lot of applications from a variety of vulnerable groups, including transgenders, including displaced persons, including we are running a project in Kasur on children's rights. So,
Wow.
so
And that's so important as well.
yeah.
To touch upon
Because
this topic, right?
yeah,
Especially coming from Kasur. I mean,
Yeah,
we would
yeah,
expect someone to work on that as well.
Exactly. There are many organizations who are working in Kasur.
Yeah.
And we are also funding a grant there on child rights. So,
But what I'm not able to grasp is now, at the start of the show, I'm very sorry that I'll have to take you back over there. You said that these grants are all about innovation, newer ideas, people who are in problem, but they come up with a solution where, it's going to be sustainable as well. Now, can you give us a few examples out of your 22 or 23 grants from last year onwards towards these vulnerable groups? What kind of innovative ideas did you come across to see that, okay, if we do this for orphans, transgenders, people with disabilities, they'll probably benefit?
yeah, for example, this Multan initiative, transgenders, they are not only training them on some vocational skills, but they are also helping them in getting jobs and starting some businesses. And these kind of interventions are there, that in which these communities are empowered financially, and their rights are protected. And if they're and we also encourage them to work with the other groups and other organizations and the governments, government institutions. For example, Multan's transgender training will be held in government vocational centers.
Wow.
Okay.
So by the teachers who are working with the government.
So you're keeping
these
everyone
kind of
in loop.
innovations are there. So
Very nice.
so and there's one village in some Sindh district where organization is actually installing a grid of solar energy to electrify the entire village.
Wow.
So this is a kind of innovative thing, and they are building a cooperative there, and that will look after that that distribution of electricity from that grid, and that is going to sustain on its own after after a project ends. So these kind of innovation, very innovative solutions we are getting from community, because communities know, and the organization working with these communities know that what solution fits for their needs and what challenges are they facing. So that's why this is more interesting, that innovations come from within the community.
Yes.
And these are not imposed by the
Very
technical
nice.
experts like us. So
Right. You need to add something?
Yeah, I would just add that this vulnerable population priority area is actually based on the philosophy of inclusion.
Okay.
And that is not just confined in this one particular area, but it's actually across the board.
Okay.
So the inclusion of those marginalized sections of society, including women, children, and within those, women, the categories of women,
So different,
like single women, the widow women, the, women, displaced women, survivors of violence. So all these vulnerable sections are to be supported in a way that their, the softer part, the invisible issues of their invisible issues are also dealt, along with some economic solutions, some very practical things. So that's why, that is part of the solution, in fact, to organize them, to link them, to build them, So because these vulnerable sections have to make their own entity, their recognition, as a group, as one body. For example, if we organize the persons with disability and facing different challenges, and there are differently able people. And the first challenge in the society they face is to get to know about each other. So there is no platform. So within those solutions, there is a good element of putting them together, organizing them so that they can sustain their group even after that. And then coupled with that, they might think of bringing some practical solutions.
Right.
That could be about increasing their employability, their skills later on, and seek connections.
And since you're the priority area manager, so do you even get to prioritize in between all of these groups too as well, that, okay, first we can probably look after them, and then on the second year we'll probably go to them, give them that grant, because, it can probably be delayed a little bit as well. Is this how your priority works, or is it different?
No, as I said, that it's one way, solution. The challenge is to organize them and build their knowledge base and information base, but at the same time, in the same solution, there has to be some practical things.
Yes.
For example, the persons with disability, they have a very practical issue. Most of them don't have ID cards.
Yeah.
So if, for example, in a solution as an inbuilt strategy, this element is being taken care, that's a very practical solution.
Yes.
Right? Similarly, for transgenders, if we would not think of providing them any alternate income idea.
Or even education.
Or education, yeah. Or they want to set up let's say after receiving a beautician training, a couple of people plan to set up their business.
Yeah.
And then they don't have the basic literacy skills, basic budgeting skills. So that would become part of the design.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
so basic literacy, and similarly for other marginalized sections, the basic literacy would
Right,
be.
right.
So these are the kind of tactics we used to, support as part of our capacity building and technical assistance.
Right.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, and moving on with the second one, where it's encouraging social entrepreneurship. So this is the second year now. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we're obviously going to discuss all 5 of them on which
One by
the
one.
grants are actually being given. So let's talk about the encouraging social entrepreneurship part.
And
Who's
how
going
do
to
you
talk
set
about
apart
it?
social entrepreneurship from basic?
Social entrepreneurship is basically running a business
Yeah.
that addresses some social challenges.
Okay.
For example, and this is basically a business, and but the business is not just profit oriented. Rather,
Addresses
it
an
addresses
issue.
the community needs or the challenges. For example, collection of waste that addresses the environmental impact, that cleanses the community neighborhood, and that provides some income to the community. So that's kind of
Social challenges.
social
Entrepreneurship
I mean, these are the social
ideas.
challenges as well.
yeah, social challenges as well. Or, for example, there's one, there are some crops in hilly areas, and they have to sell it fresh in markets, and the shelf life is not that. So they are provided with the drying machines
Okay.
for the to make that fruit a dry fruit, and
And have a longer shelf life.
increasing their shelf life. And the women are doing that. We have one project of, like, the women of one village are provided with these drying machines, and they do this business. So this business is actually catering to the needs and catering to the needs of that vulnerable group as well. So these kind of innovative solutions come under the social entrepreneurship.
And I think it's a brilliant idea, because with that, what you are doing is that you are actually making ambassadors for social change as well. Because people who will be a part of this activity, they'll be the voice of their community
Definitely.
in days to come if they probably succeed in what they want to do. And then having it will have such a greater impact that I think that in days to come, all of those groups will be on television channels too as well,
Yeah.
talking about how they change their surroundings. And I think it's wonderful. But it is directly linked with businesses.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And we also the organizations that are suggesting some social entrepreneurship initiatives, they have to establish, and we actually help them in connecting with the businesses, with the markets, because they
This
have,
is what I was
yeah.
about to ask.
Yeah. So they market their products.
Yeah.
In one case, sea buckthorn is a kind of wild fruit available in Gilgit-Baltistan. They are marketing their products.
What do we call it in Urdu though?
I don't think there's a word for Urdu
Okay.
in this, because
So
there
that means that
might be
we have
someone in
never ever
native
heard of
English.
this fruit, ladies and gentlemen.
Never
It's all
seen
right.
it.
It's on us. Yes.
So they have established market linkages. They have established linkages with chambers of commerce, and they are actually striving for the export of that
Okay, perfect.
these products.
This is a brilliant idea, and I
Definitely.
agree to that. But this is not what my question is. Now you said that all of these grants will be given to organizations who are registered under some law within the Constitution of Pakistan. Fine, or the Chamber of Commerce. So there's this backing for that. But other than that, now how do you think that that particular organization is going to do justice with people who actually linked with them in terms of businesses or probably financial movements? Mrs. Moore, yes.
Yeah. Within this priority area, the intent is that if you build the capacity of a woman or man entrepreneur, the mindset has to be changed from the perspective of generating income for myself, but to generate income for the others.
Okay.
Right? So it's actually give the person a vision how to move forward to set up a social enterprise, a
Yeah.
company. Huh? So there are a few treatments in the design application. We used to facilitate, guide them better. For example, there's a group of 10 women who are going to be trained in themselves in gem polishing and cutting and jewelry making.
Yeah.
And these were initially 10 different women belonging to 5 union councils, and they come together. They are trained as women entrepreneurs. So one is their skill part, the technical part, the skill, the
Those
polishing
vocational
of.
training. and
The other
whatnot.
part is the entrepreneurial skills, right? The business skills. So when you combine the skill enhancement and then this business learning, and they come up with this idea that, okay, within this project life, we can build our networking with the registering body, and we might. So there's a slight push for the communities to develop a mindset that how they can grow them further. So you are right that the projects are really going to the smaller organizations, those who are registered. But as a result of those project interventions, the communities are actually growing up.
Yeah.
So for example, if we support, let's say in this batch of 23 people, there are suppose 6 social entrepreneurship ideas, and let's say 4 of them, the 4 communities, are down the line 2 years later, they are able to set up their own independent social enterprise, and they get them registered, for example. So these 60 people would be actually giving an opportunity of generating income for, let per se, another 100 more vulnerable groups.
And there'll be so many other job opportunities.
Yeah, so this
as
is
well for
changing the
people.
mindset also.
Brilliant.
Wow. So now I think we're moving on to the next priority area, and that is how to develop energy.
Renewable, giving them renewable energy sources so that they
Yes.
can actually function too as well. Because if somebody's got a business, somebody for example is making a shoe, they do not have electricity. How do you think that they're going to make a shoe in the dark room?
Yes, exactly. And I think just a few months back there was a TVC running on television about a particular brand of a drink. They were making solar energy bulbs and putting them in the plastic bottles of the drinks, and enabling the villagers to actually study at night as well, because they work in the days, which was brilliant. So is this what kind of things that you're supporting as well?
Yeah, alternate energy solutions are using wind, water, sunshine to generate energy and to electrify the villages and households that are not otherwise covered through our mainstream electricity codes.
Okay.
Or subsidizing that mainstream electricity source with this kind of. But we have got some innovative solutions in under alternate energy solutions. Majority of energy solutions is basically using sunshine, the solar power.
Yeah.
But the solar power, there are innovations within that.
Yeah.
For example, and beyond solar power, there are some solutions as well. For example, the energy efficient stoves. We are supporting energy efficient stoves in Torghar, Kala Dhaka, district of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And majority of the energy solutions project are from the peripheries, from the difficult terrains, from the mountainous regions, or from Tharparkar, Gilgit-Baltistan, Chitral, and Balochistan, southern Balochistan. So they are electrifying. In Tharparkar, an organization is electrifying girls' school with the solar power. And in some cases, they are providing solar lights and the solar panels for households for them to work during dark hours as well, and maximizing their productivity and capacity to work. So energy solution, and in one case that I already mentioned, an organization is going beyond provision of solar panels, and they are actually establishing a grid, installing a grid to electrify the entire village. So these kind of solutions are being provided, and we actually encourage organizations to come up with more innovative solutions to maximize the benefits, to reach out to more beneficiaries, and to reach out to the thing that is worth mentioning here is that our energy solutions are almost in every case benefiting the vulnerable populations, the populations who are living on the margins of the society. So that's an added value for us.
Okay. So Ms. Usman, now coming on to you, you mentioned one thing, that the solutions and all the resources that you're providing to the people, they're also in line with the government policies and reforms, right? You're sort of bringing them to page as well. So has there been a group that reached out to you for the provision of clean water, clean drinking water probably from far-flung areas? Does this count under energy solutions?
I don't think so. Because clean drinking water, I
yet.
think, is a problem other than energy solutions. But
I mean, there needs to be a solution for bringing out.
people who actually
provision
live in
of
the
water,
mountains get
basically.
fresh water anyways. But other than that, I think
there are solar solutions available to pump water,
Pump water pumps,
underground water. We have seen some ideas on that, but since clean drinking water does not fit within these
doesn't
five.
come under
But
the
in
umbrella,
terms of
basically.
renewable energy, I think the best example we get is from Kailash, where they actually have built their own turbine systems and they produce energy from that, and there's no load shedding.
Wow.
But other than that, there's no load shedding in Pakistan. I think in a few areas we do have challenges, but other than that, I think are doing better.
We have eradicated the menace
But
of load
we have also received, some other interesting ideas of for example, in AJK and GP side, there's a huge biomass which goes waste on, and recycling the same and converting them into biobriquettes, and using the biobriquettes for fuel at household level as a simple solution.
And that's brilliant as well, right?
Yeah.
So you're not making a lot of waste as well.
But we were running out of
utilizing
time, so we really have to,
Quickly
hurry
wrap
up
up,
now.
yeah.
Now I want to talk about promoting culture and arts. And I can give you an example that I've seen a lot of musicians, and then their instruments which are dying, and they might not even exist in the years to come. How do you think that this grant is actually going to help have them that sustainability in their life alongside the instrument, and have newer people playing those older instruments so that the culture still lives?
Culture and arts, promoting culture and arts are all about supporting to preserve, to promote the endangered art forms. For example, some music, some cuisine, some other forms of art, theatre, some traditional theatre. So we encourage all these groups to apply for this, but the problem with our cultural groups is that they are not very much organized in terms of they are not registered entities. But we encourage them to get them registered, and if they are registered, they must apply.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely ask you how we actually need to apply, but last and not the least, improving disaster preparedness, which I think is very important in Pakistan.
Definitely.
Because over here, you know, this is what happens. Or Abu ji gaadi kharab ho gayi. Acha putra abhi ruki to nahi hai na. So till the time our car does not stop, we do not go to the workshop. So how are we doing that?
That too, and there are a lot of disaster-prone areas in Pakistan as well. You know, there's landsliding, there's mountainous regions, and then there's flooding and everything.
Flooding.
So
earthquake-prone
drought,
areas.
earthquake as well,
Earthquake.
right? So
We have sea encroachment,
Yeah.
sea intrusion in Sindh, coastal areas of Sindh. So there are a lot of disaster-prone areas, and we are getting most of the applications from these areas.
Okay.
From the areas that are riverine or that are coastal areas, or from the hilly regions where earthquake has hit in 2005. So in disaster preparedness, we actually help communities to prepare themselves better for a disaster. So, and their efforts are complementing the government efforts.
Okay,
So that coordination mechanism is there when, God forbids, a disaster hits, so that they can actually better prepare. So there are a variety of trainings, provision of toolkits, and the technical assistance and skills, and we support the creation of groups within these communities who distribute the labor in terms of what to do if some disaster hits. So these kind of interventions we are supporting in different parts of
Are there
Pakistan.
training sessions and drills as well?
Yeah.
For what to do as to if a calamity hits?
Yeah. These are all actually the preventive measures. But how can you make some community arrangements which help you prevent yourself from the disaster and minimize the risk, minimize the danger. So, and I think in Pakistan that is the best time. I'm very happy, you know, to share with that after so many catastrophic and repeated disasters in Pakistan, this is a stable time where we can do this preparedness work. Otherwise, you know, always we had to manage, you know,
After
we
the
had to
disaster.
manage
Rescue
every
and
emergency and all
rehabilitation,
that. So that's why, and that is the best time to engage with all those Rescue 1-1 and Girl Guide Association and revitalize Boy Scout movement, etc., etc. So that's why we actually take care of designing such intervention through our project designs, which actually culminate towards some trained volunteers. And those volunteers can actually would contribute to the government, the disaster management authorities
Yeah, they'll be
available
of
in the
help.
district level.
Exactly.
They will actually help them to, you know, make their contingency plans.
Exactly.
And if they have made their own village development plans to prevent themselves from a disaster, it can simply support the government effort.
Indeed.
Precisely.
Thank you very much for being with us. It was lovely to have you, but towards the end, I want you to share how people can apply for the funds or the grants. Go ahead, look into the camera and talk to them. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's very easy. Go to our web page, and the web page is tdea.pk/afgp, and everything is online. You just have to go to the web page, and then web page will hold your hand, and there's a tab there, GMIS, and there's a tab for application. You have to apply online, and everything is online. You don't have to provide any hard copies to us or anything. So, and every applicant can feel free to work on the web page and save that work and work again in their free time, and then save, and then submit to us in their own course of time. So there's no deadline. You can apply anytime, and there's no pressure for the
Application to be filled.
in the set. And if you feel any obstacle or any problem with the application process, there's a tab, contact us. Just write to us through your email, and we will get back to you.
Very nice. Can you please share the email address once again?
Everything is on the web page, and web page is tdea.pk/afgp.
Very nice. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
being
so
with
much
us.
for
It
being
was
here.
lovely to have you. It is always lovely to have people on the show who actually want to help the community on a very large scale.
Definitely. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think they just told that AFGP website has all the details about it. So, if you're watching this, please, please, please spread the word to all the people who are in need for any sort of resource help in their initiatives that they might, they're not able to bring about right now.
Or if you have missed out on any piece of information, please write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
Well, this morning.
on Twitter,
Well, this morning without a G.
on Dailymotion and YouTube.
Well, this morning.
And this fabulous repeat is going to be at
5 past 11 p.m.
till the next time. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
Good morning.